Hello TJians, we would now like to give you some feedback pertaining to the March Common Test, right? We are only looking at two questions, the most popular questions, question 7 and question 9. The first thing that we want to do is look at question 7. Question 7. Is poverty largely to blame for environmental devastation? Right? We found that many of you were able to explain the causal link between poverty and environmental devastation. Now that's very good. Now secondly, we also found that you were also able to discuss other factors that contribute to environmental devastation. That's also very good. However, there were many students who ended up doing this, listing of the factors that contributed to environmental devastation, when the question is really asking you, is poverty largely to blame? Secondly, we also had many essays which gave us lengthy explanation of simple processes like how does pollution happen, which is really not necessary, right? And technically, we thought it was very odd that even at this stage, we have students who wrote 1-page long paragraphs, which is a no-no. Or there were also students who wrote a 1-line, 1-sentence paragraph. We've told you, right? Now, what tips are we going to give you for this particular question? Tip number 1. Let's have a look at the phrase largely to blame. If you think of that phrase, the question is asking you, is poverty the main culprit that is responsible? Right? So if you want to say that poverty is largely to blame, then you need to compare it to other factors. To say that, yes, poverty is more blameworthy than, say, material impetus, economic progress. Right? So we do expect you to make some kind of comparison. Okay? Now tip number 2. When we ask you, is poverty largely to blame, and you say no, we do expect you to counter-propose. Very much like if I ask you, is John the tallest boy in class? And you say no, the next logical thing to say is, no, John is not, but Peter is. So we do expect in a question like this for you to counter-propose if you do not think that poverty is largely to blame. And tip number 3, now when you're citing examples, we do expect specific examples. And I think you know this. So in your learning of examples, memorizing of examples, it is necessary, critical, that you memorize specific details of the examples. How do you know something is specific? If you've got a name, a number, statistics, a date, a time, those will make your examples specific.
Hi TJians, I'm Mr. Yap, and I'm going to bring you through some comments for question number 9. As you can see, the question is, to what extent is immigration good for your country? Alright, so a couple of points that the markers actually noted while going through your scripts. So these are some pointers to take note of. Good things first, of course. Firstly, most of you were able to show that you understood the benefits, okay, and harms of immigration. Alright, but however, understanding the benefits is not enough, because for this question, you actually need to contextualize. Okay, which means you need to show a certain understanding of the traits and characteristics of your country and how that affects your response to the question. So, for example, immigration might be beneficial for a country like the United Kingdom because immigrants are able to provide, to contribute to the tax towards the country, and at the same time, not at an age where they need to drain, where they are going to drain public resources such as healthcare or education. So in a sense, they can contribute more than they take from the country. And this is very important for the UK because they are a welfare state, so they need a large amount of public funds. But for Singapore, it's slightly different. While it's also beneficial to our economy, it's for very different reasons, because as a country that depends a lot on foreign investment, we need to keep our labour force productive, competitive, and provide a wide range of expertise. So you see, for different countries, they have different traits and characteristics, different systems, different trends that we need to be able to display in the essay, okay, so that it answers to the question relevantly. Okay, moving on to the second point. Most of you were able to, probably thanks to your econs tutors, have a very good understanding of what our economy is like. And so many of your arguments were focused on, how it benefits our economy. But because this is general paper, you need to be able to show a wider scope of thought, to be able to address and discuss more areas. Okay, the scope of thought needs to be wider and not just focused on only the economy, because otherwise it will just turn into an econs essay, right? Okay, so other than the economy, which most of you are very good at, perhaps you want to think about other areas, your social, your cultural factors, alright? So for example, do immigrants inject vibrancy into our city life? Alright? Does it make Singaporeans more stressed due to more competition for jobs? Are they more unhappy? And are the country's resources stretched, right, due to probable overcrowding and the use of public resources? Okay, so you need to think about a wide scope of things so that your essay is not just overly focused and narrow. We're just talking about the economy. Okay, and lastly, the last point to note is that it's really good that you guys have developed, a balanced viewpoint towards the issue, and it is very evident from how most students try to illustrate that in terms of their stance and how they develop the essay, right? How they try to address both sides of the issue. However, some of you still need to work on how you actually craft these stands, okay? Because a lot of them they are problematic in how they sound. Okay, so one example of a stand that is problematic is this: immigration is good to a small extent as it brings about many negative consequences. Now, from this stand, you can tell that the writer is able to see both sides, right? That he thinks that while there is some good, right, it is not that good because there are many negative consequences that come with immigration. But the phrasing is odd, because how do you say that it's good and then talk about something negative right after that? Okay, so what you really might have wanted to say is this, right? The use of qualifiers is very important here, and use that to your advantage. Okay, so it could sound something like this: while immigration does bring about benefits such as A, B, or C, the various concerns involving X, Y, Z makes it difficult to argue that it has been good to a large extent. So use your qualifiers well, so that your stand sounds mature and at the same time gives a good foreground into what your essay is going to how it's going to develop. Alright, so some of the main comments that we have picked up while marking through this question, and we hope you find this useful. Thank you.